Good day. We are going to present our research title, which is the effects of modular distance learning to the grade 12 UM student of Partido College.
Hi, I'm Renz A. Badoria.
Hi, I'm Clarice Castor.
Hi, my name is Giselle Rivero Climacosa.
I am Camela Hanyolan Dugan, and we are the Group 3. Here are the Chapter 1, which is the problem or the background of the study. In this period of COVID-19 pandemic, when a traditional in-person or face-to-face mode of learning is not allowed, there is a need to explore other innovative learning modalities to continue the schooling of the students in basic and tertiary education who are differently situated in terms of time, pace, and place. One of the sectors most shaken by the COVID-19 pandemic is education, affecting the lives of students in the country since March 2020. As the school year 2020 and 2021, it brought a havoc to our government stability of nations affected by this pestilence virus called COVID-19. There is no assurance yet for how long this phenomenon lasts. The COVID-19 pandemic is a huge challenge to education. People need a good education to be able to survive in this competitive world. That's why the Department of Education implemented a new normal or alternative way of learning for the students. Distance learning, also known as correspondence education or home study, is a form of education where there is a little or no face-to-face interaction between students and their instructors. Another alternative learning modality for the new normal is modular distance learning. We, the researchers, have chosen this topic so that we can know what are the effects of this change on the students. It will give us an opportunity to look carefully at the consequences of these actions and to think about how different actions might have different effects. Hence, a problem statement was created to have a clear, concise description of the topic or issues that is needed to be addressed. Therefore, this study sought to answer the valid opinion and ideas, the adverse effect of modular distance learning, both from the teacher, students, and parents. The first one is a socio-demographic profile of the students along with their age, which is very important to determine because they shape the perception of demographic trends. Gender. It is also important to look at how this topic affect the learnings and opportunities available to different groups of men and women, and the gadgets they have. Knowing the availability of gadgets to every student is also important because it plays a vital role in educational field in order to improve their skills and knowledge. The second one is the effects of modular distance learning on their learning, which in this process of acquiring new understanding, knowledge, behaviors, skills, values, attitudes, and preferences. This will help us to determine learning growth of the respondents even before this distance learning implemented by the Department of Education. Own understanding is a part of a formative assessment system in which we can identify learning goals, provide students feedback, and then plan instruction based on students' errors and misconceptions. Responsibility on answering modules and time management. Students are not just e-learners because we all know that they have also many work in their homes such as household chores. Therefore, this is maybe the factors that may affect the students' progress on their class. Students' time management can also affect stress level of students as they need to cope with their task. Accessibility. Accessible means something that is easily understandable, approachable, and attainable. Being aware from this helps us to determine what would be the effect of this to the learners. Lastly, this study will show the possible benefits of modular distance learning to the respondents, since distance learning may not be the best choice for every student. Thus, understanding its advantages can help one another to pursue it. Safety and learning at their own pace. Staying safe and well at home during the COVID-19 pandemic. Since many students are able to get things done in a safe and relaxing environment, they can also study and learn many things within the safety of their own pace. Cost efficient. It can also be significantly more cost efficient compared to traditional training tools such as printed manuals or in person classes, as it does not require learners to travel to be in the same place or invest in special equipment and learning resources for each module of their course. Better study balance. It can be hard to find a healthy balance between life and study, especially when the learners are in their home, as they are going to have a time management. More time to reflect. Reflection gives the brain an opportunity to pause amidst the circumstances, untangle and sort through observations and experiences, considering this pandemic. This meaning becomes learning, which can then inform future mindset and actions. Flexibility. It is the ability to customize one pace, place, and mode of learning. Those created problem that is mentioned wants to discover if these factors may affect the students' achievement in class as they take this new normal way of learning. Moreover, this study wants to know if the given benefits of modular distance learning are really beneficial to the learners that would be a big help in answering the problem statement. This study is based on the assumption that modular distance learning has good effects to learners' academic performance, to teachers active facilitating on their students through social media platforms, and to parents' cost efficiency. This study includes the effects of modular distance learning as well as its benefits towards the students, and this will not include the perception of the respondents towards it. This study will be beneficial to the teachers, students, parents, school administration, and the future researchers. This study will help them to know the different effects of modular distance learning to the students' progress or achievement on their class, as well as to have a reliable information about this topic. For the scope and delimitation, this study involves 20 grade 12 students of Partido College who are officially enrolled. The researcher focused on modular distance learning to know the effect of it to the student. This strand is for learners who aim to take up journalism, communication arts, liberal arts, education, and other social science related courses in college. Therefore, they are expected to be good on answering those questions honestly. We will come now to the chapter 2, which is the review of related literature and studies. As what Keegan says, distance education is where obviously the learners and teachers are physically separated during instruction and the use of modules to distribute, as well as the various technologies or any ways such as to facilitate student to teacher and student to students communication. This previous study only showed that technology plays its important part during this modular distance learning when it terms about the communication and the flexibility of the students on answering their modules.
According to Gillis M.K. and Ossel S.K., their literature shows that communication is very important. People cannot live without communicating. Therefore, communication makes connections for creating effective understanding, knowing information, and expressing feelings. In distance learning, the modules of communication include electronic mail, chat rooms, or any other social media platforms that makes a connection between the teacher and learners because interaction is important in a learning environment, and that is also mentioned in the from Kent 2016 where they post or Morris Jury added that distance learning says that its effect is not only about the physical distance but also the intellectual and communication gap.
Moore's theory added that distance learning effects is not only about the physical distance but also the intellectual and communication gap. According to the United Kingdom by Kelly and Stevens, it showed that distance is the problem in distance education. It can be confusing to think, but it is true. Because if you just read it, you will think that it is probably what is. On the other hand, since distance education has been implemented in K 12 over the past decade, so it only means that this kinds of learning is already being practiced even before this pandemic hits us. It may be just a new to us because we tend to have a face-to-face class. With the help of technologies, everyone becomes more globally competitive that plays an important role in the ability and disability of the students, the teacher's ability to help and guide their students, even when they are under distance learning. As a result from the past studies, it showed that as this distance education being implemented, the number of enrolled students have increased, which gives some students an opportunity to take their class without worrying about their hassle time, age, or if they are a working students and a mother who still wants to take a class. That are some of the benefits of this distance learning, and it showed a greater improvement on the students' critical thinking skills, learning independently, which may test their own understanding, problem solving, creative writing, time management, and also their flexibility. But, on the other side, this may affect the listening and speaking skills both by the teachers and the learners.
Next, according to Ulasina 2018, it focuses on module learning. We are all familiar about this because it is a new way to access learning content using mobiles and supports continuous access to the learning process. This study shows through mobile learning, it gives a great help when it terms about the communication between the students and teachers that makes everyone to be flexible by means of accessing learning materials and seek education anytime and anywhere.
So we will come now in our related studies. The first one that we got from the assessment in the effects of modularization by Carmen Vidal and Rita Nadas is the flexibility. Flexibility is the one of the most important qualities that students and teachers can cultivate. In flexible learning, quality education may be in a question because of so many factors that affect the learning process, such as the preparation of teachers capable to handle online and offline classes, the availability of information, resources in schools, teachers and students, and the internet connectivity of the schools and the learners, among others. This only means that patience and cooperation of everyone is called in this transition or transformation towards the new normal or new modalities of the teaching learning process and adopt the change. Flexibility in assessment can further motivate students and engage them in the learning process by giving them some control over their learning.
Ownership. In this study, it shows that modular distance learning, you are the one who holds your time. All we just need is to have a time management. This is where a teacher and a student can make a schedule to finish up their works on time. Therefore, the university or the school must have a concrete plan for the distribution and retrieving of modules. They must have a well-designed for this to be able to have a good flow of education until the end of the school year. The student as well can learn at their own pace and apply their knowledge and own understanding on their modules. Improve student-teachers relationships. According to Thompson, modular distance learning can affect the relationship between the teachers and student since they will only have a short-term face-to-face interaction and mostly they have their communication through the help of any social media platforms. Hence, the students will have a super and guidance of their parents or guardians as they answer the activities on their modules. Spread of assessment versus fragmentation of learning and over-assessment. The purpose of assessment is to gather relevant information about student performance or progress, or to determine student interest to make judgments about their learning process. But there is a danger of fragmentation of learning and lack of coherence in learning programs due to the methods of curriculum, delivery, and the assessment practices. In the assessment of student performance, schools may use non-conventional assessment system, such as research paper, video recorded, student reports, or laboratory experiment, project-based or task-based assessment, use of assessment rubrics, among others. Regular feedback. Feedback can improve a student's confidence, self-awareness, and enthusiasm for learning. Providing students engage with feedback, it should enhance learning and improve assessment performance. Therefore, the students will know what things must they need to improve. Reset opportunities. The opportunity to reset modules also ties in another advantage of the modular curriculum, that of enabling students to plan their way forward in both studying and completing a course. But if resets are not well managed, students reset too many modules. This increases the pressure on school resources and on students' workload.
Focus of teaching. Having a well-established and effective teaching through well-designed instructional content and appropriate communication medium. Workload. Deadlines on units can limit a teacher's ability to teach important topics in the way that he or she would choose. Managing their time and how they are going to check all the modules that their students have answered. Also, on how they are going to answer those concerns of their students and their parents.
This just will only show that the modular distance learning have its more greater good benefits, not just for students, but also for the parents and teachers. This will support our study to show the effectiveness of this learning system to the academic progress and achievement of the student. For the information of others that distance learning is not a new way of teaching the students. Those related literature and studies that are mentioned will support our topic that this is a method of teaching where the learner and the teacher are physically separated from each other. It utilizes a combination of technologies such as audio, video, computer, and the internet, where in fact the main objective of flexible learning is to provide learners with most flexibility on the learning content, schedules, access, and innovative assessment, making use of digital and non-digital tools. Synthesis of the state of the art. In distance education, learners are physically separated from the institution that sponsors the instruction. The teaching or learning contract requires that the student be taught, assessed, given guidance, and where appropriate, prepared for examinations that may or may not be conducted by the institution. The distance learning and learning management system by Momenkaya Kellis and Osel Sama shows that distance education needs a reliable means of communication between students and lecturers. Parker and Webble also supported that this education system brought a good impact on students' progress and academic achievements. As what can say, mobile technology makes the learning process more interactive and engaging, but this statement is exactly opposite from Band, because he found out that there are more negative effects in distance education, where he talks about the performance, students' engagement, and the development of their skills and knowledge. In general, distance learning has its pros and cons according to Vidal and Dadas. Therefore, the internet plays a vital role in ensuring that people stay in contact regardless of the physical barriers, since we are avoiding to be infected by this COVID-19. Through the use of gadgets, the students and teachers are able to connect and communicate each other anytime they want without the threat of virus by the help of different social media platforms such as commonly used Messenger, Zoom, Google Classroom, and others, and also the fastest internet connectivity.
Conceptual framework. The first table shows the socio-demographic profile of the respondents. The first one is the age, since individuals of the same generation often share similar values, beliefs, and attitudes. Therefore, age is an important variable to consider. It has been shown in various scientific disciplines that opinions on a vast number of topics differ between different age groups. It will answer our questions from different age line. Second one is the gender. When it comes to school or education, the male and female have their different perspective about it. Since most of the time, female students tend to excel in classes but not in all cases. So here we will find out how much they will be affected by this change. The last one for this table is the gadget. Once a student owns a gadget, they have a chance to make their learnings more enjoyable and easier. This is also a tool for communication or connecting with their teachers if there are some concerns about the school or their learnings. This is where to prove that the availability of gadget is important in distance education as what some authors and other studies have said. Knowing first about the socio-demographic profile of the students before the benefits of this modular distance learning allow us to see the different perspective of different demographic profile, and it will help the researcher to identify if the said benefits will really apply on them with a specific section. Let's come now to the second table on what are the benefits of modular distance learning to the students, wherein we, the researcher, assume that we will give a respondent A. Safety. Its number one aim is the safety not just for the students and teachers but for everyone. Implementing this kind of education system is very beneficial to us. It prevents us from having or associating with different people, especially since we do not know who is the carrier of the virus and who is not. Therefore, we need to be grateful because despite of this pandemic, education is still here for the better future of the next generation. Cost efficiency. When in terms of cost efficiency, distance education often is considered cost efficient because the parents will no longer have to give their child a money for a transportation as well as for the allowance and also some extra activities in school. Better study balance. The students will have a better study balance since students hold their time on how they are going to finish up answering their modules without worrying that they might not be able to submit on time. More time to reflect. Student will have a concentration to their lessons without the distraction of your naughty classmates. The students are becoming aware of their own thinking process, understanding and learning on their self-study. Learning at their own pace. This is where the learners are able to control the amount of materials they consume as well as the duration of time they need to learn the new information properly. Flexibility. This is where the students feel more responsible for their learning. They are more likely to be dedicated and therefore work harder. After the benefits of this modular distance learning, the students' individual learning will be followed to know how the students do their job to fulfill their duty as students to answer their modules. Since learning of every student is important on how they achieve or how they has been survived and learn the lessons without usual face-to-face discussion. Motivation. Students who are more motivated to learn persist longer, produce higher quality effort, learn more deeply and perform better in classes and on standardized tests. This may be one of the reasons why they still did their very best to have a higher grades. Intellectual ability. This is where the ability to think of the student and to understand ideas and information that will test their flexibility. Attention spans. Some students have a long attention spans but some are not. In this study, we will notice on how the students are able to concentrate and be thoughtful and deliberate as we focus on the information and tasks in their homes. Prior knowledge has long been considered the most important factor influencing learning to the student achievement. Since the student will have a self-study, this is where their own understanding will be tested, remembering those knowledge that they got from the previous topic they had.
For the definition of terms, distance learning, it is used to define education where educators and learners are physically separated. It is not a new concept. However, emerging technologies and the web allow web-based distance learning and therefore increases its popularity. Modularization. It claims that modular curriculum gives due weight to all the elements within a curriculum and not just to those that form part of examination syllabuses. Mobile technology. It makes the learning process more interactive and engaging. Flexibility. It is a well-designed and constructed modular curriculum might well offer students more flexibility and variety than others, more conventional forms of curricular organization.
The references that we have used for this study came from the different authors. The first one is Duke TH 2012, Designing Distance Learning for the 21st Century. The second one is from Malik S. It is about the social studies that is published in the year 2012, which is entitled as the effects of modular and traditional approaches on students' general comprehension. We have Callis MK and Ozil SK that is published in the year 2016, and their work is entitled as a review of distance learning and learning management system. The meta-analysis of Kavanagh C., Gillian K.J., Cromery J., Has M., Blomier R. are published in the year 2004, which is entitled as The Effects of Distance Education on K-12 Students' Outcome. The assessment of Vidal and Ladas in the year 2008, which is The Effects of Modularization. Shuha, Qureshi, Schaffer, and Zarin, their works have been published in the year 2019, which is The Effects of M-Learning on Students' Academic Performance mediated by facilitation, discourse, and flexibility.
We will come now to the chapter 3, which is the methodology. This study used descriptive correlational method in order to determine the academic performance of the students, in which it shows the relationship between the effects of this change and this new normal way of learning. The descriptive method was used to describe the effects of this modular distance learning to the said respondents, and it is also used to describe the academic improvement and other benefits of this distance learning, while the correlational method was used to determine the relationship of the students' learning to their academic achievement.
It is appropriate for a research topic because of the reason that it will describe the effects of modular distance learning and how modular distance learning affects their mental and physical health. It will describe the academic improvements of 12 students under the new normal learning, which is the modular distance learning. It will help to determine the relationship of students' learning to their academic achievements, to determine the possible outcomes of modular distance learning, whether it is good or bad, to determine, identify, describes the behavior of participants under the new normal learning.
For the gatherings of our data, the researcher will send the questionnaire through the most used and easy way media platform, and that is the Messenger, to the grade 12 human student of Partido College. Therefore, we as a researcher can obtain information safely and follow the rules that exist in our country, and so that we can prevent and protect each other from the spreading the deadly virus. The respondents of this study will be given a direction before they start to answer the questions. They also have a 10 minutes time to answer those questions the researchers have prepared. The data that we'll obtain from the respondents will be checked, analyzed, and interpreted.
It is suitable for a research topic because it is the most used, efficient, and quick way to be able to gather information immediately to the respondents, which is the grade 12 UM student. The researcher will send the questionnaire through Messenger to the grade 12 UM student of Partido College so that they can obtain information safely and to follow the rules that exist, so that they can protect themselves from the deadly virus. The questionnaire will be scheduled in one day. Directions will be given before they start to answer the questions. The respondents will be given 10 minutes to answer the questionnaire to gather information.
The questionnaires that will be given to the respondents will be intended to determine the effects of modular distance learning on understanding, time management, responsibility, and accessibility of the students. This study sought to answer the valid opinion and ideas, the adverse effect of the modular learning, both from the teacher, students, and parents. It specifically seeks to answer the socio-demographic profile of the students, the effects of modular distance learning to the respondents, and the benefits of this modular design to the respondents.
The instrument we will use to gather information is questionnaires. First, we will seek the respondent's socio-demographic profile, including their name, gender, and age. They will be asked by the researcher in their free time to answer the questionnaire. The respondents will answer the questionnaire to determine the effects of modular distance learning. It is valid and reliable because the study sought to answer valid opinions and ideas about the effects of modular distance learning, both from the teacher, students, and parents.
To observe the objectivity of this study, purposive sampling under the type of non-probability sampling will be used by the researchers in determining the respondents of the study. It will consider to determine the effect of modular distance learning in the academic performance of the students. The researcher will choose the respondents because they represent some characteristics the researchers wants to study.
This is an item test which will be prepared by the researcher that will be intended to determine the effects of modular distance learning on understanding, time management, and responsibility. Accessibility of the students includes respondent of the studies and data analysis that includes statistic tools. This is an item test which will be prepared by the researcher that will be intended to determine the effects of modular distance learning on understanding, time management, and responsibility. Accessibility of the students includes respondent of the studies and data analysis that includes statistic tools.
And also, as what we have mentioned on our scope and delimitation, this strand is for learners who aim to take up journalism, communication arts, liberal arts, education, and other social science related course in college. Therefore, they are expected to be good at answering those questions honestly. This includes questions about the respondent's opinion about how this modular distance learning affect their studies and how they cope with this adjustment. The researchers will use the descriptive data analysis method in collecting data that will feature the data in this study and thus therefore show that frequency counting and equivalent percentage will be used to determine the effects of modular distance learning to the respondents. Correlational will be used to determine the relationship of the student's learning to the academic achievement of the student, and t-test formula will be used to test the factors may affect the student's learning under the new normal, which is the distance learning through the use of modules of the selected grade 12 UM student.
The researchers will use the descriptive data analysis method in collecting data. The descriptive correlational methods. Correlational methods was used to determine the relationship of the students' learning to their academic achievement. The researchers can determine the respondents' own perspective of this type of method.
We hope that you will be accepting our research proposal. Thank you and God bless.